But actually, I have to complain that Plurk is really not a good idea to memo the creative ideas.
Because it's limited, so you will lose it.
Yeah, and also it's not good at search currently, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more criticism about Plurk?
I have more of a lifestyle question, because I think it's life of a programmer for every different person are quite different, and how people optimize their lives even in creative ways may be somewhat different. And I'm just wondering, with regards to your lifestyle, I mean, like, do you think about trying to get into the flow every day, like at certain period of times? Or another point is that I think creative ideas, sometimes people say it's from a lot of collaborations or talking to other people, which is not in that typical quiet place where you don't think up of something yourself, but you're working with many others and then come up with something great. And so how do you mix that in terms of, you know, people interacting, but sometimes you just need to sit down somewhere where nobody knows you and then try to push it forward, basically.
Yeah. So my process isn't that structured. So it's like very chaotic, and I can't really force myself into being into the zone. It just sometimes I maybe don't code in a week, and then I have like 3 days where I just code non-stop. That's my process, but I don't think it works that well, because chaotic, especially in a work group environment, it's not really good to be chaotic, because yeah, your co-workers might find that a bit annoying. Yeah, I think, I don't know, I think it's really hard to replicate like the flow state, and I think it works differently for a lot of different people. I mean, I share what works for me and what maybe works for John Cleese and others, but maybe you or somebody else are more social and get like the really creative ideas by talking to others, and I think that's very fine, and a great way as well to become more creative. But I think in the bottom end, you know, if you have to do something, then you probably just want to do it by yourself and try to explore it that way. But yeah, I think we are different, and there are different approaches certainly for achieving creativity.
I mean, you mentioned GitHub, where you go and study other great programmers' code. I mean, in that respect, you may not come up with the idea yourself, but you got some patterns or something from others.
Yeah,
I mean,
that is important, I think, as well. But I don't really use GitHub in my creative moments. I use it more like a time consumer, where I just, when I have some free time and when I don't have to do any work, I just go and consume and see what are others doing. Then when I have to do the work, I don't go to the GitHub or other places. I just work on that, and probably in my unconsciousness, I draw like a lot of ideas from others.
yeah, but sometimes, for example, you try to solve a problem, and then you're on the web, so you kind of like search this kind of topic, and you look at many people's codes or different people describing this problem and how they solve it. And in this respect, you're not just in the moment by yourself. Is that what it is? I mean, like you still look at many different information sources, but you just very focused in applying these data that you try to search for, and then apply it on your current task. Is that what it is? Or, I mean, my point is that for mathematician, maybe they have something that's unsolved, and then they cannot really reference anything else, and then they just sit there and just keep thinking and thinking with whatever tools they have, but you know, for a while, and then try to come up with something. I mean, this is two different kind of.
Yeah. I don't really know like a general pattern for that, but I think researching is a really great thing, like looking what others are doing. So I do that as well, of course. Yeah. But I think sometimes, like some people are like too much researching into like how stuff works instead of trying to create something. And I think it's like in the creating something process that you really learn a lot, because a great reference is like soccer playing. I play soccer, and you don't really get good at soccer by watching Messi play. You do it by doing your own play. I mean, you can get inspired, but if you just watch soccer, you're never going to be good at it, no matter how much you watch. And I think the same applies for creativity as well. I mean, if you just consume, and not create anything, then you're not really going to be creative, which is like the basis of creativity, is to create new stuff.
So what I was referring to was, in terms of you getting in the zone, in that situation, what you're saying is you don't actually think too much about what others are doing in terms of the research side. You actually just by yourself kind of thing, and not in the flow with other people's ideas and codes, and in that moment. Is that what it is? Or, I mean, do you actively shield out these so-called distractions as well? Because
yeah, I do.
You do.
Yeah. So when I work on something, I mean, I know like the basics, of course. I don't have to look up anything when I work, because I have worked with this for many years. Yeah, so it's just like shielding out and just working on the problem.
okay.
And maybe it's not the right approach, but I think we must create and we must do before we can really become good at something, and before we can achieve creativity. So stuff like also, I think a very wrong way of learning is like the passive way. Where you just read stuff. I think it's much better to go on and create a GitHub account and just begin to program. Fork other people's code, look what they are doing, patching stuff and stuff like that, instead of like reading a programming book.
Yeah, because nowadays we're in the age of information overload, so many people, even if you turn off the cell phone, the TV, everything, the email, but you're still having a browser where you can browse many things at the same time. Even if it's related to your current work, you can still get over-flooded with these kind of different people talking about different things, and you still get distracted in a way. So I'm just saying, this is what you say is that's still not good. That's not the flow. In the zone, you're just so focused that you don't even think about maybe what others' opinions on this current topic or something. It's just try to figure out the problems and how to solve it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's actually important to have a goal during that time. You know, you set up some little goals that you want to achieve for that focus period, right? So that you kind of focus on tasks, so that helps you get into the flow. Right?
I have a question,
Yeah.
follow up Tim's question. I'll phrase it this way. How do you shield out all those influence? Because you have experienced a lot since your skill level is high. You must have read a lot of code, and you must have experienced a lot of different things, and so your creativity level is high. But how? To me, it's very difficult to think about to shield out all these influence.
Yeah, you shouldn't shoot. I don't do that. I'm very influenced by others. Yeah. So it's not like.
So those
but
those influence actually is a very good reference for you to think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, get into that kind of state and try to think of something by yourself.
Yeah. So I just want to make it clear. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be influenced by others. I think you should, but I think it's much more important to create yourself than it is to be influenced by others.
Then how do you differentiate something is coming out of myself and something
It's
is
hard.
okay.
It's hard. Because I think most work builds on something else that you have done. I mean, it's not that often you just build something completely new. Every idea is influenced by something else. You don't really have like brand new ideas. So
By the end of the day, you have to check. Okay, this is something I created. Okay, this is something I mix something and result in this.
Well, so you know, you heard the phrase that bad artists copy,
Right.
good artists
Create.
borrow,
Yeah.
and great artists steal.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's from Steve Jobs.
Okay. Any question from? You know, I'm sorry we kind of limited the discussion here, so I would like to maybe open the floor a little bit more. Any more questions from other people? No? Okay, yeah.
I was wondering, when you're pushing your skill level up and when you're stuck in problems, something you're trying to do, how do you usually go about solving, get yourself unstuck?
I think maybe in that sense, if you are like really stuck on something, then you can ask for help. But I think once you reach a certain skill level, then you can maybe, yeah. So if you like begin programming, then it's important to learn the basic constructs, so you are not stuck on that. And then as you move forward, like to solve like harder problems that aren't about syntax and that are like much harder, then you can maybe ask around. I think I'm not really saying that. Yeah, I think there's like too much focus on shutting out and not talking to anyone. I think it's a great way, but you of course need to have input from others. That's an important thing, because if you just shut everything out, then you're not going to be that good, I think. And that's like, for me, I read a lot of great programmers and their code, so I know like how they do stuff. But then when I go and do stuff, I sort of know what to do.
For example, the example you gave earlier about how you scale the timeline, when you reach at that skill level, you're probably facing problems that very few people have faced, or there's no similar problem because you probably are the first one doing something like that. So how did you guys reach that solution or come up with that solution?
Yeah, it's not. I think it's just like really hard work, because I mean, we worked really hard, and when you have like scaling issues, you have to like work all the time because everything is burning. You know, it's so you don't really have like time to think that much about how you solve problems. You're forced to solve them fast, or else the site dies.
For this particular problem, how much is the creativity contribute to solving this problem versus experience?
I don't know. I think it's a combination of those two things.
Can you give us a scale, like 20% creativity, 80% experience?
Yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah,
Okay.
because a lot of things, it requires a lot of experience to gain new insights into problems, and especially like if you work with a hard problem, you have to know it in and out in order to like come up with a better solution.